You had it all. You had everything you wanted. But you had to get fucking greedy. Like, you had to go invade your neighboring countries. You had to have your sons go out on raping sprees. Like, it's all there. I mean, the story's as old as the Bible. It's like, there you have it. Plenty of success, all the money you won, all the cars you won, all the pussy you won. It's like, it's all right there. But you know what? These guys don't get to be where they are without having that gene that does. See, they don't have that gene that says, I'm going to lay down with Sammy and stare at a mountain. They have that gene that looks past the mountain and goes, we need more. Who's fucking me out of my deal? What's going on? How come I'm not bigger?
Adam, you're smarter than I thought. You know, maybe you need to get involved in the government here.
It doesn't. What gets you
Look
from
how happy we were.
I know. What gets you from a basement in Pasadena to the biggest rock band in the world doesn't shut off once you're the biggest rock band in the world. You keep going, but
That's interesting, but
now you are hurting yourself, and you still don't know how to shut it down.
Imploded, yeah.
Right.
The thing. I mean, well.
So it at a certain point, and how was Michael Anthony through this whole thing?
He's the coolest guy on the
always
planet.
seems a nice guy when he comes in here.
Why would you fire Michael Anthony, the most harmless creature on planet? Never said a word like an argument like, no, I won't do that, or no, Mike, what are we doing? He's first guy there, last guy to leave. Best bass player singer on the planet. He's right up there with Geddy Lee for being able to play and sing, at the same time. Got the beautiful singing voice. The nicest guy in the world. The funnest guy in the world. The only guy without problems.
It made Eddie look taller.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, made me look skinny.
Like, you look skinny and make Eddie taller. I mean, why would you fire him?
I love Mike, man. Mike, I inherited Mike.
Yeah, right.
They threw me out first, and then I inherited Mike.
And then Alex Van Halen. What's up with him?
I love Alex, but he's Ed's brother, and he backs him, and he should. If I had a big brother like Alex and playing drums in my band, I'd be happy because he watches Ed like a hawk. He watches his back. But, I mean, they get into it, don't get me wrong. But if you try to get in the middle of it and say, I'm siding with Ed, or something, Ed will say, no, man, hey, Al's right. Or if you side with that, Al, they're tight, but that's a beautiful thing. So I'm not down on Al, but Al was treacherous. Al's, he did as much knife work on me as Ed. So,
are the
crime?
The Van Halens, and by the way, have you met their parents?
Oh, I loved Ed's mom, Al's mom and dad. Their dad, Jan, he loved me. When I walked into that studio the first time, he was sitting there. All three of them had a cigarette and a beer. And when I started singing, he's going, "This guy can sing." He was great. He was a musician, sax player. He was a great guy. But they just sat around and smoked cigarettes and drank all day. All of them. And his dad, they passed, and then his mom lived to be in their 80s. After the reunion, their mom died.
Now, the reunion was, I'm trying to think of how this was going to work. First, they were going to get back together with David Lee Roth. They did.
Well,
but
that was 18 years ago, the first attempt, wasn't it? Something like that?
I guess.
95.
That didn't seem to work. And then how'd the second reunion go?
I think that was aborted as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third or the fourth ones, you didn't hear about a lot of them,
Because there's a lot of attempts, but nothing happened.
Those guys can't get along. Ed, and I can't see Ed, Alan, Dave, and Wolfie in a room together in my most creative mind vision. Those guys cannot be in a room together doing anything except for, like, arguing or like somebody getting up and walking out.
The thing that's weird about it is it's music, and a song is one of those things that I'm always envious of guys who do what you do for a living, because I always feel like when I go out on stage, I'm up in my head. Like, I'm sort of thinking about what's the next joke, or what bits do I want to do, or whatever. Whereas musically, and maybe it's not quite the same when you're doing the lyrics, but when you're playing the drums, you're just reacting. Like, you're just going. I feel like you're in the moment. I feel like you're just there. You're feeding off the crowd. Yeah, you
want to be anyway. That's where you want to be.
You're
on
there,
stage.
right? You're in that moment. You're not two songs ahead in your head. You're out there. And the thing about, if I didn't get along with you and you didn't get along with me and we both didn't get along with the drummer, once the song started, I feel like we could all just go to that place. even if we didn't need to hang out together in that place in our own heads.
Yeah, that's how it works.
It's one thing if we all get locked in a room and we're trying to invent something and there's going to be a lot of late nights and a lot of arguments, but just go out on stage and Ain't Talking About Love. I feel like
piece of cake, man.
Piece of fucking cake. How can you fuck that up? I mean,
I don't know.
Sit next to each other on the flight, and then just go back to the next town and sing the song
then
again.
You go back to your hotel room and you lay there and you go, "Yeah, that son of a bitch. What did he say? Yeah, that mother. You know what? Wait a minute. He said something on stage, or you know. I mean, it's like that's not me. This is what Ed. Ed really got out there on that 04 reunion tour. And and like in my book, like I'm not dogging him. I'm not dogging any Van Halen fan that thinks I'm dogging him. You're crazy. Go to YouTube and watch those clips from that tour. And the guy's playing in the wrong keys, playing the wrong parts to songs. Is out of tune, and you're sitting there trying to sing to that stuff. Man, I felt like grabbing the guitar from him half the night and saying, Ed, go take a nap, dude.
What, you think he was high?
Hell yes. He was drunk on his ass. Look, the guy walked around from the second you saw him in the morning with a bottle of wine in his hand, okay? And it would be 3/4 empty, and then see him 20 minutes later, and it was full. And then see him an hour later, it was 3/4 empty, and a couple hours later, it was half full. This guy was blasting through, I don't know how much, but from the time I saw him in the morning to the time I left him at night, he never, except when he had that guitar in his hand on stage, did not have a bottle of wine in his hand. Drinking constantly. I mean, and it was just like, you can't go around like that. We used to say, "Come on, Ed, chill out." It's like, "Hey, man, we got a show." It'd be like, my guitar, firing his roadie and firing the sound man, accusing everybody else of being screwing up. But it was him playing. He wasn't playing good on that. Here's a genius guitar player.
It's hard to, the thing is, honestly, I've been in that place a couple times myself where you go out on stage and you start talking and you realize you just slurred. And when you slur, you realize, wow, I may have had a couple too many beers, and that will calm you. It'll correct itself because a couple of slurs in front of a large group of people that makes you set the beer down pretty quick.
Unless you're Foster Brooks or something,
right? And you're getting paid to do it. But Google me, assholes. It's an old time thing. But the point is this. The guitar, I think, would give me a false sense of confidence. Like, I would feel like, I don't care how shit-faced I am, my hands will muscle memory. I'll know how to do this one.
It didn't work that way, man.
It did not.
And the first time ever, because the 11 years prior to that, when I was in the first incarnation of Van Halen from 85 to 95, Ed played perfect every night. If he made two mistakes that were, mistakes that got my attention in 10 years, that would be about it. You count them on one hand. This guy was a monster. He could play every night, fantastic. And he was drinking. We'd go out there. I'd be right there with him. We'd come out there not trash, but a couple pops in, you having a good time. We rolled that way. We did. I didn't start in the morning, but right before we went on stage, about the hour backstage, I started drinking a little bit. We'd all start drinking. But it just caught up with him or something on 04. I don't know what happened in 04, but Ed didn't have it, man. And I hope he's got it back now because he's too damn good. He's too important to rock. We need guys like him.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to make it. Would you call him a virtuoso?
Hell yes, man. He can play keyboards, bass. He played drums.
Yeah, so you're out there on stage and you're having that feeling that most everyone who's been out on stage before has had, where you're sort of relying on somebody else to do something, and they're not doing it. And whether it's the lighting guy, the sound guy, or the guy with the guitar next to you, and in your mind, you're thinking, I'm going to kill this guy, or what the fuck, or I can't believe this, or how many times we got to discuss this. But your mouth has to just keep doing the joke or the song or whatever it is. But it's the worst. It's the worst ever because as soon as you get off stage, you've been waiting for the last hour to scream at the guy about what the fuck.
We didn't even talk about it anymore. After I realized that this was the way it was going to be, I was hoping the reunion was going to be like great. I thought, that we'll get back together, we'll be friends again, because I love these guys. I still love them. Just right now, Ed and I don't get along.
What do you think the fans thought? Like, did you feel like?
Oh hell, I saw the fans in shock, man. And people be in the front row, the Guitar Heroes, that paid for those really great seats or the special seating in our stage. We had these the rings and had people in there. I saw people in there like their jaws dropping, shaking their heads and stuff, man. And Ed would be yelling at them. There they are. Oh, look at Diamond. Look at him.
Diamond Dave, yeah. Eddie be yelling at him what? Leave those pictures out there.
This looks like...
Let him finish the goddamn stories. Thank you. Sorry. You'd be yelling at him what?
No, I wouldn't. I just got over it. I thought, the fans just be looking up going, wow, wow. They'd be looking at me and like... I mean, fans would look at me and shrug about Ed. Fans right there in the row look at me going... And I'd be going... so Mike and Al and I would play and sing our asses off the best we could.
Right.
And they'd bury Ed in the mix, but unfortunately they couldn't bury him in the monitors because he'd hear himself, and he couldn't hear himself. He'd start yelling, screaming at people and kicking holes in the monitors. Complete out of control. Everything he was just mad at the world and yelling at the fans over the microphone and just I got tapes, man, of every show. I got a DVD and a CD of every show. And I go back and listen every now and then, and because I was trying to find for my website, I have this thing where 4 generations of rock. I'm talking about Montrose, Sammy Hagar, Van Halen, and Chickenfoot.
Right.
So I want to put a picture of each guitar player, and I'm going back through the new, the 04 reunion stuff where I have decent high def DVDs of every show, trying to find a decent shot ahead and a decent place where he's playing on key. And if you go on there, you'll hear When It's Love. It's the best I could find. It's like... Right. And it was just like, whoa.
And there's no... Now...
But he would yell at the audience. I'll be singing, how do I know when it's love? He'd be going, I'll tell you what love is. Yeah, you fucking, yeah. And he just crazy shit. And, Mikey's singing, I don't need no doctor. The classic was, he'd be saying, yeah, I need a fucking lawyer. Yeah, when I finish with you. Crazy shit like that. Why do that?
Why? Now,
damn it.
Al, it's so...
It wasn't what I wanted it to be. So.
No, I listen, and I feel that way about so often in life where you go, this could be so good, it could be so easy, we could make so much money. There wouldn't have to be this. It wouldn't have to. We don't have to do this.
No, that's really disappointing.
And it's disappointing.
People ruin a good thing.
And especially because of the history and because of the fans, and it's just, in a way, it's like you just owe it to the fans to sober up for whatever show you're doing on any night, because no matter what, like whatever's going on, which is, I don't like to talk about myself on this show.
Wait a minute. What, you got some ghosts in the closet there, brother?
No. I mean, sometimes. I mean, maybe. No, there's times,
capable.
There's times when I've done 3 shows a night. And by the time the 3rd show comes around, I don't fucking feel like doing the 3rd show. And I'm like kind of pissed that we even booked the 3rd show.
Yeah.
And I want to go the fuck home. And I'm going to say home, I mean my hotel room. And I'm like sitting backstage thinking, this blows. I don't want to do it. But then I think to myself, don't punish whoever came out to see the 3rd show. It's not their fault that you had to do the 1st and 2nd show. And they weren't at the 1st and 2nd show. And it's not fair to them to do a sort of half-baked bullshit 3rd show just because you didn't want to do it. And it's not their fault. So just think of them, and don't have them leave tonight going, fucking Carolla sucked, and he was sort of mailed it in, and he wasn't really into it because he was tired.
We've all been guilty of that, though. But you get tired. You get tired. You say, don't feel like doing it tonight.
It's happened, but it's sad when you're as big an icon as Van Halen is, and you're playing.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought you were talking about sex.
Oh, yeah.
No. That. Oh, you're still talking about Van Halen. Oh, that's different. Oh, no.
I didn't even mail that in. That's carrier pitching. So
I'm trying to lighten it up, Ed.
Why? I love all the stories. I can't. So why doesn't Eddie? Alex Van Halen say to Eddie, "Hey, man."
He used to.
Come on.
He used to, and I think I talked to Al about it on the 04 tour, and Al just said, Sam, he goes, we're getting old, man. He's going, I don't want to be rolling around the floor with the guy, again, every night. because that's what would happen. They start, and especially because Eddie was so pissy and out of control, and so he was really kind of violent. I got to tell you,
he was just
busting shit up,
like a bad drunk.
Yeah. So Al didn't want to deal with it. I don't blame him.
Right.
I didn't want to deal with it either. I stayed clear of the guy, man.
No,
I walked off the stage. If he was going that way, I went that way.
Imagine Valerie. That had to be.
But Valerie cleared out earlier. She got out early.
Well, so I mean,
Valerie's great, by the way, too. See, I loved their relationship when I first joined the band.